Story 1. I travel for work about twice a month, so I've gotten pretty used to the whole airport routine. I work as a sales representative for a medical equipment company, which means I'm constantly flying to different cities to meet with hospitals and clinics. After 5 years of this job, I thought I'd seen every type of difficult traveler, but apparently I was wrong. This particular trip was to a conference in Denver. My flight had been delayed by 2 hours due to weather, so by the time I landed, I was already running behind schedule. The hotel I was staying at was about 20 minutes from the airport, and I'd booked a spot on the shared shuttle service because it was cheaper than taking a taxi. The shuttle pickup area was packed with tired travelers, all of us just wanting to get to our hotels and collapse. There was a clear line formed next to the designated pickup spot, with about 15 people waiting ahead of me. Everyone looked exhausted, and we were all quietly checking our phones or making work calls while we waited. The shuttle system worked pretty simply. The driver would pull up, check everyone's reservations, and load passengers until the bus was full. It usually took about 20 minutes to fill up a bus, and then we'd make stops at various hotels around the city. Not the fastest system, but it worked fine if you weren't in a huge rush. I'd been waiting for about 10 minutes when the shuttle pulled up. The driver got out and opened the doors, and everyone started forming an orderly line to board. That's when she appeared. This woman came strutting across the pickup area like she owned the entire airport. She had multiple designer bags, was talking loudly on her phone about some business deal, and completely ignored the line of people waiting to board. She shoved past at least 6 people and climbed straight onto the bus, claiming a seat in the front row like nothing had happened. "Karen, driver, let's go, I'm in a hurry." The driver, who was still outside checking reservations, looked confused. "Driver, ma'am, I need to see your confirmation, and we're not leaving until the bus is full." "Karen, what do you mean full? I'm ready to go now, just drive." "Driver, this is a shared shuttle service. We wait for all confirmed passengers before departing." "Karen, I don't care about other passengers. I have an important meeting first thing tomorrow morning." The rest of us were still standing outside, waiting to board behind this woman who had just cut in front of everyone. Guy behind me, "Excuse me, lady, there's a line here." "Karen, I shouldn't have to wait with everyone else. I have priority status." "Driver, ma'am, everyone has confirmed reservations. Please show me your booking confirmation." She waved her phone around showing some kind of email, but kept talking over the driver when he tried to explain the process. "Karen, look, I don't have time for this shared bus nonsense. Just take me to my hotel right now." "Woman in line, that's not how shuttle services work. We all paid for this." "Karen, I'll pay extra. Just go." The driver climbed onto the bus and tried to reason with her. "Driver, ma'am, this is a shared service. I have 14 other passengers who have paid for seats on this bus. We don't leave until everyone is aboard." "Karen, then they can catch the next one. I was here first." Several people in line started laughing at that obvious lie. Multiple voices, "You just cut in line. We saw you." "Karen, I don't cut in lines. I have priority boarding." "Driver, there's no priority boarding on airport shuttles. Everyone boards in the order they arrive." "Karen, this is ridiculous. I demand you take me to my hotel immediately." The driver looked at all of us still standing outside, then made a decision that surprised everyone. "Driver, folks, please don't board yet." He turned on the bus intercom so his voice carried clearly to everyone in the pickup area. "Driver, attention passengers. Due to a disruptive passenger who refuses to follow standard boarding procedures, this shuttle will not depart until said passenger voluntarily exits the vehicle." The entire crowd of waiting travelers started cheering and clapping. Karen's face turned bright red. "Karen, are you kidding me right now? You can't do this." "Driver, ma'am, you cut in front of paying customers and are demanding special treatment that we don't offer. Please exit so we can board passengers properly." "Karen, I'm not getting off this bus. I was here first." "Random passenger, lady, We all saw you cut in line. Just get off. Another person. Yeah, stop holding up everyone else. The driver remained completely calm and professional. Driver, ma'am, you have two choices. Exit voluntarily, or I'll call airport security to remove you. Either way, this bus doesn't move until you're off. Karen, this is discrimination. I'm being targeted. Driver, you're being asked to follow the same rules as every other passenger. Karen, fine. This shuttle service is terrible anyway. I'm calling a taxi. She grabbed her bags and stomped toward the front of the bus. Karen, you'll all be hearing from corporate about this. I'm reporting everyone. As she climbed down the steps, the entire crowd of waiting passengers erupted in cheers and applause. Someone actually yelled, "Don't let the door hit you on the way out." Karen, all of you can go to hell. I'll make sure none of you get good service. She stormed off toward the taxi stand, dragging her designer luggage behind her and still yelling threats about reporting everyone. The driver turned to all of us with a huge grin. Driver, all right folks, let's board properly and get you all to your hotels. Everyone was in such a good mood after that spectacle that the entire bus ride turned into a celebration. Passengers were high-fiving the driver, sharing stories about their own encounters with entitled people, and several people said they were going to leave positive reviews, specifically mentioning how well the driver handled the situation. The best part was when we pulled away from the pickup area, we could see Karen still standing at the taxi stand, apparently arguing with a dispatcher about wait times. Sometimes karma works pretty quickly. Story 2. I've been playing street music for about 4 years now, ever since I dropped out of college and decided to pursue music full-time. It's not the most stable income, but I love performing and connecting with people through music. I have all the proper permits for busking in the downtown area, and I've built up a pretty good following of regulars who stop by during their lunch breaks or shopping trips. My usual spot is right in the center of Memorial Plaza, where there's great foot traffic from the shopping district and office buildings. The acoustics are perfect because of how the buildings are arranged, and there's enough space for people to gather without blocking pedestrian traffic. Most people are really supportive. They drop money in my case, request songs, or just stop to listen for a few minutes. It was a beautiful Saturday afternoon, and I was playing some acoustic covers for a crowd of about 20 people. Families with kids, couples, some teenagers, and a few older folks who always show up when I'm performing. Everyone was in a good mood. Kids were dancing, and people were singing along to songs they recognized. I had just started playing Wonderwall when this woman came charging through the crowd like she was late for an emergency. She pushed past several people and marched straight up to me. Karen, stop playing that noise right now. I kept playing because I thought maybe she was just walking by and complaining to herself. But she planted herself right in front of my amp and started yelling louder. Karen, I said, stop. Your music is disturbing my shopping. Me, I have a permit to perform here. This is a designated busking area. Karen, I don't care about your permit. I'm trying to shop in peace and your guitar is giving me a headache. The crowd was starting to murmur. A few people told her to just walk away if she didn't like the music, but that just made her angrier. Karen, this is public space. That means I have just as much right to quiet as you do to make noise. Me, actually, this plaza specifically allows street performances. There are signs posted right over there. She turned around and looked at the signs, but that didn't slow her down at all. Karen, those signs are stupid. Public space belongs to everyone, which means you can't just claim it for your little concert. Me, I'm not claiming anything. I'm sharing it with everyone who wants to listen. Karen, well, I don't want to listen. Make it stop. That's when she reached for my amp cord and tried to unplug it. I quickly moved my guitar out of the way, but she was actually trying to sabotage my equipment. Crowd member, hey, leave him alone. Another person, if you don't like it, go somewhere else. The crowd was getting upset with her now. People were booing and telling her to move along, but she just got more aggressive. Karen, you're all idiots. I have every right to shop in peace without listening to this amateur garbage. Me, ma'am, please don't touch my equipment. I'm just trying to make a living here. Karen, get a real job. Stop begging for money on the street. She made another grab for my amp cord. But this time a police officer stepped out from behind one of the nearby food trucks. I hadn't even noticed him there, but apparently he'd been watching the whole thing. Officer, ma'am, step away from the musician's equipment. Karen, thank God. Officer, this man is disturbing the peace and harassing shoppers. Officer, actually, what I saw was you trying to damage his equipment and harassing him while he was legally busking with a proper permit. Karen, he doesn't have a permit. He's just some homeless guy with a guitar. The officer walked over and looked at my permit, which I always keep displayed on my guitar case. Officer, his permit is valid, and this is a designated performance area. You're the one creating a disturbance. Karen, that's ridiculous. I'm a taxpayer, and I demand quiet public spaces. Officer, you're free to shop elsewhere if the music bothers you. What you can't do is interfere with a legal street performance. Karen, this is discrimination. You're taking his side because you probably don't have real jobs either. Wrong thing to say to a cop. His whole demeanor changed. Officer, ma'am, I'm citing you for harassment and attempted destruction of property. Karen, you can't give me a ticket. I didn't do anything wrong. Officer, you tried to unplug his equipment twice, and you've been verbally harassing him for 10 minutes. That's definitely something wrong. He started writing her a ticket while she continued to argue and complain. The crowd was loving every minute of it. People were taking pictures and videos of her getting cited. Karen, this is the worst police department I've ever encountered. I'm calling the mayor. Officer, you can call whoever you want after you pay this fine. She snatched the ticket from his hand and stormed off, still yelling about discrimination and her rights as a taxpayer. The crowd cheered as she disappeared around the corner. The officer walked back over to me. Officer, sorry about that. I've been watching you play for about 15 minutes. You're really good. Me, thanks for stepping in. I wasn't sure what to do when she started grabbing my equipment. Officer, mind if I stick around for another song? I'm on my break anyway. Me, absolutely. I started playing Hey Jude, and the whole crowd joined in, including the police officer. It was one of those perfect moments where music brought everyone together after something ugly tried to tear it apart. A few people in the crowd told me they'd never seen anything like Karen's behavior, and they made sure to drop extra money in my case before they left. Story 3. I've been working at Retro Wheels roller rink for 2 years now, ever since I graduated high school and decided to take a gap year before college. What started as a temporary job to save money became something I genuinely enjoyed. The rink has been a local institution for 30 years, and there's something magical about watching families create memories on the same floor where their parents learned to skate decades ago. My job involves everything from renting skates to maintaining the rink surface, but my favorite part is working during open skate sessions. I love seeing little kids wobble around on their first pair of skates, while teenagers show off their moves and parents relive their youth. The mix of ages and skill levels creates a fun, welcoming atmosphere that most people appreciate. It was a busy Friday evening. School had just let out for the week, so we had our usual crowd of families looking for weekend entertainment. The disco lights were flashing, classic hits were pumping through the sound system, and about 40 people were skating around the rink at various speeds and skill levels. I was at the skate rental counter when this woman approached with 2 kids, maybe 8 and 10 years old. They looked excited to be there, but she had an annoyed expression before even talking to me. Me, hi there, what sizes do you need for skates? Karen, before we rent anything, I need to know about getting private use of the rink. Me, we don't offer private rentals during open skate hours. You'd have to book that separately for a different time. Karen, that's ridiculous. My children need space to learn properly. Me, the rink is pretty spacious, and we have skaters of all levels out there. Your kids should be fine. Karen, look at all those people. My children can't learn with all that chaos. I glanced at the rink. It was busy but not overcrowded. People were skating safely and having a good time. Me, I understand your concern, but Open Skate is designed for everyone to share the space. We can get your kids some skates and they'll pick it up quickly. Karen, how much would it cost to clear everyone else out? Me, ma'am, we can't ask paying customers to leave so your family can have the rink alone. That's not how it works. Karen, everything has a price. I'll pay double admission. Me, even if I wanted to, I don't have the authority to do that. The rink is open to everyone who pays admission. She stared at me like I was speaking a foreign language, then looked back at the rink where families were laughing and skating together. Karen, this is unacceptable. My children deserve better than this. Me, would you like to rent skates and give it a try? I think you'll find it's not as crowded as it looks. Karen, fine. But if my kids can't skate properly because of all these people, I'm demanding a refund. I rented them 3 pairs of skates, hoping things would calm down once they got on the rink. The kids seemed excited and weren't bothered by the other skaters at all. Unfortunately, their mother had different plans. Within 5 minutes of getting on the rink, Karen was skating around with her arms spread wide, trying to create a bubble of space around her children. Karen, excuse me, coming through. My children need room. Other skaters politely moved aside at first, but she kept demanding more and more space. I watched from the sideline, ready to intervene if necessary. Karen, everyone needs to slow down. You're going too fast for beginners. She started skating in the center of the rink, waving her arms at anyone who came near. Her kids looked embarrassed and kept trying to skate away from her. Kid 1, Mom, stop. We're fine. Karen, I'm protecting you from these reckless skaters. That's when she decided to take more drastic action. She skated over to a family with young kids and spread her arms out like a traffic cop. Karen, you need to move to the other side of the rink. This section is for my children. Father, ma'am, this is Open Skate. Everyone can use the whole rink. Karen, my children were here first. Me, ma'am, please return to normal skating. You can't block other people's access to the rink. Karen, I'm ensuring my children's safety. She was now skating backwards in front of other people, waving her arms and creating a dangerous situation for everyone. I signaled to my manager that we had a problem. Karen, everyone stay back. Give my kids space to learn. That's when physics took over. She was skating backwards while gesturing wildly, not paying attention to where she was going. Her foot caught the toe guard of another skater, and she lost her balance completely. Karen went down hard, arms flailing, and slid directly into the padded wall with a loud thump. The entire rink stopped to watch as she struggled to get back up, her skates slipping on the smooth floor. The silence lasted for about 3 seconds before people started laughing. Not mean-spirited laughter, but the kind of chuckling you can't help when someone who's been causing problems gets their comeuppance in such a perfectly ironic way. Manager, ma'am, you need to come off the rink immediately. Karen was still sitting against the wall, looking dazed and humiliated. Her kids skated over to help her up. Kid 2, Mom, are you okay? Karen, this rink is dangerous. I'm suing. Manager, you created the dangerous situation by blocking other skaters. You need to leave. As my manager, and I helped escort Karen off the rink, still complaining about lawsuits and unsafe conditions. Her kids apologized to the other families she'd bothered. Kid 1, sorry about our mom. She gets weird sometimes. The other customers were understanding and went back to skating normally. Karen's kids stayed for another hour with their dad, who apparently was meeting them there and had missed the whole spectacle. They had a great time once their mother was gone. Story 4. I take the commuter ferry to work every weekday morning. It's actually cheaper than driving and parking downtown. Plus, I can catch up on reading during the 30-minute ride across the bay. I've been using this ferry service for about 2 years since I started my job at the accounting firm on the other side of the water. The ferry system is pretty straightforward. You buy your ticket at the terminal or use the mobile app, show it when boarding, and find a seat. During rush hour, it gets crowded with office workers, students, and tourists, but it's usually a peaceful way to start the day. The crew is friendly and most passengers are regulars who just want to get to work without any drama. This particular morning, I was running a few minutes late because my alarm didn't go off. I grabbed my coffee and rushed to catch the 8:15 ferry. I had an important client meeting at 9 and couldn't afford to miss this boat and wait another hour for the next one. I made it just as they were about to close the boarding ramp. I scanned my monthly pass on my phone and found a seat near the back. Everything seemed normal until we were about 5 minutes out from the dock. This woman who had been standing near the ticket booth started raising her voice at one of the crew members. "Karen, I already told you, I'm not paying for this." Crew member: "Ma'am, all passengers are required to have a valid ticket to ride the ferry." Karen: "This is public transportation. Water should be free for everyone to use." The crew member tried explaining that the ferry service costs money to operate and maintain, but she wasn't having it. Karen: "I pay taxes. That should cover any transportation on public waterways." By now, other passengers were looking over. A businessman near me rolled his eyes and went back to his newspaper. Crew member: "Ma'am, if you don't have a ticket, you'll need to purchase one or disembark at the next stop." Karen: "I'm not getting off and I'm not paying." She planted herself right in the middle of the main deck area, sitting cross-legged on the floor like she was staging some kind of protest. Karen: "I'm not moving until you admit that charging for water transportation is theft." The crew member tried reasoning with her, but she just sat there blocking the walkway while other passengers had to step around her. People started looking annoyed since she was making it hard for anyone to move around the boat. After a few more minutes, the crew member spoke into his radio. Suddenly, the ferry's engines shut off, and we came to a complete stop in the middle of the bay. The captain's voice came over the loudspeaker. "Captain, ladies and gentlemen, we have temporarily stopped due to a passenger refusing to follow ferry regulations. We will resume our journey once this matter is resolved." Everyone started looking around, and it became obvious who the problem passenger was since Karen was still sitting in the middle of the deck. Karen: "Good. Maybe now you'll realize how unreasonable you're being." But the other passengers weren't on her side. People started checking their watches and looking frustrated. Someone muttered about being late for work. "Captain, we have contacted port security, and they will meet us shortly to resolve this situation." Within 10 minutes, a security boat pulled up alongside the ferry. 2 security officers boarded and walked straight over to Karen. Security officer: "Ma'am, you need to come with us." Karen: "I'm not going anywhere. This is a peaceful protest." Security officer: "You're disrupting public transportation and delaying other passengers. You can either come voluntarily or we'll escort you." Karen: "This is harassment. I have rights." The security officers each took one of her arms and helped her to her feet. She kept protesting as they walked her toward the security boat. Karen: "You'll all be sorry when I call the news about this injustice." As soon as she was transferred to the security boat, the captain restarted our engines. "Captain, thank you for your patience, folks. We'll have you to your destination shortly." The moment we started moving again, passengers broke into applause. The businessman next to me actually stood up and clapped. Even some of the crew members were smiling. I made it to my client meeting with 5 minutes to spare, and we landed a big new account that day. Sometimes removing one disruptive person really does make everyone else's day better. Story 5. I've been working as a planetarium technician for about 3 years now. I started right after college with a degree in astronomy, and this job lets me combine my love of science with educating the public. Most of our visitors are families with curious kids or school groups on field trips, and I love seeing people get excited about space. The planetarium itself is pretty impressive. We have a 40-foot dome with state-of-the-art projection equipment that can show incredibly detailed views of space. The system costs the museum over $500,000 and displays astronomically accurate representations of the night sky from any location on Earth at any time in history. Our evening stargazing shows are really popular. We project the night sky onto our dome ceiling and take people on a tour of constellations, planets, and deep space objects. I operate the projection system while our head astronomer does the narration from a podium on the stage area. The shows are carefully scripted and scientifically verified by multiple astronomy professors at the local university. Last Tuesday, we had a packed house for our Summer Sky presentation. About 60 people were settled into the reclining seats, looking up at the projected stars. The audience included several families with young children who were clearly excited about their first planetarium experience, some teenagers on a date, and a group of senior citizens from a local community center. Our astronomer had just finished explaining how the ancient Greeks named the constellations and was halfway through describing the constellation Cassiopeia when this woman suddenly spoke up from the audience. "Karen, that's completely wrong. Those stars aren't in the right places." Our astronomer, who has a doctorate in astrophysics and 20 years of experience, remained calm and professional. "Astronomer, ma'am, this is an accurate representation of tonight's sky as viewed from our location at 9 p.m. "Karen, no it's not. I know what the real sky looks like, and this is fake." She was getting increasingly agitated, and I could see other audience members starting to shift uncomfortably in their seats. "Astronomer, perhaps we could discuss this after the show. We have other guests who would like to continue learning about astronomy." "Karen, I paid good money for this show, and I want you to fix it right now. This is false advertising." I could see other audience members starting to get annoyed. Several people shushed her, but she just got louder. A young child started crying because of the disruption. "Audience member, please be quiet. We're trying to listen to the presentation." "Parent with crying child, you're scaring the kids with all that yelling." "Karen, don't tell me to be quiet. They're showing us completely wrong information. This is educational malpractice." The astronomer tried to continue with the presentation, pointing out Mars in the projected sky, but Karen kept interrupting with increasingly ridiculous complaints. "Karen, Mars isn't even the right color, and where's Venus? You forgot an entire planet." "Astronomer, ma'am, Venus isn't visible at this time of evening from our location. The projections are based on actual astronomical calculations." "Karen, that's impossible. I can see Venus every night from my backyard." Several audience members started chuckling at this point, realizing she had no idea what she was talking about. "Astronomer, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to step outside if you can't let us continue." "Karen, I'm not going anywhere. Fix the sky or give me my money back." That's when she actually got up from her seat and started walking toward the stage. The planetarium was dark except for the projected stars, so she was stumbling around trying to find her way. "Karen, where's the control panel? I'll fix it myself." She climbed right up onto the small stage area where our equipment and the astronomer's podium were located. "Astronomer, ma'am, you cannot be up here. This is restricted access." "Karen, give me that microphone. I'll show everyone what the real sky looks like." She actually tried to grab the microphone from our astronomer's hands. That's when I called security from my booth. "Me, security to planetarium immediately. We have someone disrupting the show." "Karen, the Big Dipper is supposed to be over there. And where's the North Star? This is completely wrong." "Astronomer, ma'am, the projections are scientifically accurate. Please return to your seat." "Karen, I've been looking at stars my whole life. I know better than some fancy computer." Security arrived within 2 minutes. 2 officers walked into the dark planetarium with flashlights. Security officer, "Ma'am, you need to come with us." Karen, "Finally, tell them to fix their broken star machine." Security officer, "You're disrupting the show. Let's go." Karen, "I'm not leaving until they show the correct stars. The security officers had to physically escort her out. She was still yelling about inaccurate constellations as they carried her toward the exit. "Karen, this is false advertising. You're showing people fake stars. I want a refund." The audience started laughing and clapping as she was removed. Once the doors closed behind her, there was a moment of silence. Astronomer. Well, that was unexpected. Now, as I was saying about Cassiopeia. Child in audience, why was that lady so angry at the stars? Astronomer. Some people have very strong opinions about astronomy, even when they're incorrect. The rest of the show went perfectly. Our astronomer handled the disruption with such professionalism that it almost seemed planned. When we got to the section about Saturn, he delivered the line perfectly. Astronomer. And that, folks, is why Saturn has rings. The audience burst out laughing, understanding it was a reference to the earlier chaos. After the show, several people came up to compliment how we handled the situation. Visitor. That was the most entertaining planetarium show I've ever been to. You handled that perfectly. Parent. My kids will be talking about the angry star lady for weeks. They learned something about astronomy and appropriate behavior. Teenager. That was epic when security carried her out. She was so wrong about everything. Senior citizen. In my day, people had more respect for education and science. The next day, our director told me that Karen had called to complain and demand a refund. She claimed we were spreading false information about astronomy and threatened to report us to the Better Business Bureau, the State Education Department, and NASA. Director. I told her our projections are based on actual astronomical data from the Naval Observatory and wished her luck with her complaints. NASA isn't going to investigate a planetarium for showing accurate star positions. The story spread quickly among our staff and became legendary. Other museums in the area heard about it through our professional networks. Now, whenever we have difficult visitors, someone always jokes about whether they're going to storm the stage to fix the sky. Even better, attendance at our shows actually increased over the next few weeks. Word had spread through social media about the Planetarium Karen, and people were coming specifically to support our educational mission. Several local astronomy clubs booked group visits and specifically mentioned they appreciated facilities that maintain scientific accuracy. Our astronomer started incorporating the incident into his presentations as a teaching moment about the difference between casual observation and scientific measurement. He'd explain how our eyes can trick us and why instruments and calculations are necessary for accurate astronomy. The most satisfying part came a month later when a local newspaper did a feature story about science education. They interviewed our astronomer about the importance of accuracy in educational settings, and he mentioned the incident as an example of why scientific literacy matters. The article concluded with a quote from him that became our unofficial motto: "The stars don't care about your opinion, but science cares about facts."